Hey friends, we're off here again with the Louisville ProActivist Report. Thanks for joining me today. Got another great guest, another great interview for you. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Old Louisville Coffee Co-op. That's where we're doing this interview today. Great place. I've got some hot chocolate right here. It's great. Come check it out. Whenever possible, support local, support unions, support co-ops. That's the way forward. So yeah. With that segue, we are going to we are going to talk about unions today and organizing and strikes and get into all that. I have a great guest for you, and so let me introduce my guest here. Let me get this camera switched around. Here we go. All right, welcome to the show, Fern Potter. Fern is with Starbucks Workers United. They just had a big day the other day. They had a one-day strike for Red Cup Day. So we're going to get into all of that. Welcome to the show, Fern. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
There we go. All right, so let's just kind of start at the beginning. Just talk about unions in general. Why do you support unions? What kind of benefit do you think that it brings to the worker?
I mean, at the core level, I feel like in this capitalistic system that we have, you have the corporations and their only interest is profit. If they care about people, if they're going to try and treat people nice, they're going to be less competitive than the corporations who are being nice. And so any nice corporations are competed out, and only the ones that are just the worst, get power. And so you need an organization that's powered by your labor, that's going to work for you and advocate for you, because the corporations are going to exploit you as much as possible, and they're going to try and take. And you need to get together and collectively say, as a group of people, that we have certain standards of treatment that you have to meet. And if you don't meet that, then we're going to withhold our labor.
All right. So you work on the East End. That's about as high as I can go on the volume there.
You can speak up some?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. I'm getting a volume. Somebody say more volume. So, yeah. All right. So let's start at your store. How long have you been unionized now?
We've been unionized. We were certified in the beginning of June, so about 5 months now.
Okay. So you're in one of the East End locations, Factory Lane, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So talk about just what was going on in your store before you decided to unionize. Kind of what were the conditions in the store?
I mean, there obviously, already a lot of complaints that weren't just specific to our stores: treatment, harassment, disciplinary process, pay and benefits. A lot of reasonable concerns that are just nationwide and not even specific to our store. Our store personally has a pretty good manager, which is out of the ordinary for Starbucks, and most people there have a pretty good relationship with our manager. And so I think the majority of the issue here was that people would just realize that they were being exploited, that they weren't making as much as they should, that they were facing treatment that they didn't deserve and that was not necessary. And they realized that if we come together and organize into a union, there are steps we can take to try and fix these issues.
Okay, so was Starbucks aware that you were organizing at this store, or did you kind of catch them by surprise?
We definitely caught them by surprise. Some stores, they catch on early for whatever reason. Ours, we lasted probably until the week before we filed our petition. They didn't catch on, which is really good, because as soon as they catch on to your organizing, they're sending the district manager in, and they're posting all sorts of propaganda all over the store, saying this and that. And so we had a lot of time to get ahead of them before they try to do any of that.
Nice. So Starbucks Workers United, that's kind of one of the newer unions out there, as far as I know.
So Starbucks Workers United is the, I guess, branch, you would say, of Workers United. In actuality, we're have workers, staffers from Workers United, which is a very old and historical union, that are advising us in the process. And then Starbucks Workers United is like the group of people that are represented by Workers United, basically.
Okay, so as you were kind of deciding which union to go with, how'd you end up with Starbucks Workers United?
Well, I was, you know, when you're unionizing, I guess like the first store, you know, the first store or two, it's definitely important to go in depth and know which union you think would be a good one, and which ones you might not want to go with. But at the point that we joined in the union, there were already some 150, 200 stores unionized. So we went with Workers United, which was representing like the vast majority, like 95% of unionized stores.
Okay, nice. So just kind of walk us through the process there. Once you got started, did management try to step in? I've heard some things at some of these other stores nationally. So how'd that go in your store?
Yeah, I think we were really lucky in our store, definitely really lucky in that we have a manager who is very by the book, doesn't want to violate, you know, any labor law, and is honestly not really against unions, which is very, again, out of the ordinary for Starbucks. Because usually when you have this situation, you'll be targeted. There will be, you know, disciplines for organizers and all sorts of stuff. There's been a ton of illegal firings all over the country. But our manager was very nice, and the worst that we faced in the beginning was just a lot of misleading information, a lot of things that maybe weren't technically lies, but were definitely misrepresenting the truth and very purposefully. They kept pushing this one article from this union contract in Vancouver, which is a different store in a different country represented by a different union, talking about how they can't transfer there and saying, oh, well, you might lose your ability to transfer, which is just misleading because the contract that we do get is handed down to us to vote. And if we don't want to get rid of our transfers, then we'll just not vote to ratify that contract. And again, at the bargaining table, it's going to be us present, right? It's going to be the workers, and no one in this area is going to want to do away with transfers. And so it's just that, like, people don't really have a good picture of what unions are before they start really interacting with the union, engaging and organizing and stuff. And so it's very easy to catch them off guard and send them down these rabbit holes that makes them very hesitant to join.
So how many employees are at your Starbucks?
Currently about 30.
About 30. And how did the vote go?
The vote, we won 19-4, 19-5. I can't recall exactly, but it was definitely the like vast majority of workers there were in support. The only reason we actually had any workers was because we had one of the shift supervisors there pulled aside like 3 people as they were filling out their vote. It was mail-in ballot, and they were doing it in store, and they were like, let me help you fill it out. And they basically forced them to vote no on it. And it was a really, you know, disgusting situation. Luckily, they no longer work here. We don't have to deal with them anymore. But you know, a lot of strange stuff with that, with people that, you know, don't even particularly care about unions. They just want to, you know, make themselves look really good to management.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Did the National Labor Relations Board step into that situation, or were they made aware?
No, we ended up not deciding to pursue it for a number of reasons. One, we found out a little bit later on, which wouldn't have been prohibitory, but it was just one of those things where we had already won. That person was gone, and it didn't seem like it was going to be worth the legal fees incurred to try and pursue that in court, seeing as we probably wouldn't really get any benefit from it in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so Red Cup Day, that was what, last week?
Yep.
And that's, I'll say I'm not a big coffee drinker, you know, so I don't really know too much about it, but I know that's one of Starbucks' bigger days of the year, right? As far as like sales and stuff.
Yeah, so it was definitely picked strategically for that reason. It's one of our biggest days of the years. They hand out these free red cups in the morning while supplies last. I believe they also go out half price drinks, but I can't recall exactly. I've never worked Red Cup Day before. And so we engaged in a ULP strike for their violation of national federal labor law across the country, nationwide, for their failure to bargain with us, their engagement in union busting, and all the stuff that they've been doing to try and keep us from organizing. There have been a lot of benefits that they've rolled out that they've refused to give to union stores. An administrative law judge has already decided that we are going to be awarded back pay for them postponing raises for union stores, which is really good to hear. Because for a lot of people working, 20, 40 hours a week, that's a couple hundred, a few $100s to be getting back, which is really nice. And that's just with our store specifically. Our raises were only postponed a month, but some people were less lucky than us and still have yet to receive their raises.
So Red Cup Day nationally, I see there were over 100 stores involved in this, over 1,000 people striking for the company, and that's great to hear. So how's it gone, do you think, at your store specifically and with Starbucks in general, since Red Cup Day? Has the Starbucks management spoken out? Have you seen any changes, either locally or federal or, nationally with the chain?
No, so this is really just the beginning of what we're going to have to do as long as Starbucks keeps refusing to listen and refusing to bargain. It's still now at that point when when we represent, a minority of stores. There's 8,000 some stores in the U.S. and only a few hundred of them are organized at this point. And so we don't represent that big of a detriment to Starbucks profit. They're still hoping that they can just keep throwing money at it, legal fees, hiring attorneys, intimidating and refusing benefits and all this stuff, and they can just keep getting away with it. And so this is the beginning of an escalation plan, and we are going to, if Starbucks continues to engage in all these illegal and unethical practices, we're going to have no choice but to engage in more strikes with more people for longer. Because realistically, the only thing the company is ever going to listen to is when we withhold our labor. And you can get as many stores organized as you want, but if you don't have a credible strike threat, if they're not afraid that their stores are going to be shut down, then they're just not going to do anything. Because that's, at the end of the day, profit is their only motive.
So true. And if you all do have to strike again, if you see a Starbucks on strike, do not cross that picket line. Take your business to another coffee place that day, or even go home and make some coffee if you got to, but don't cross that line. Support the workers, support the strikers. What do you think? How much progress do you think there's going to be made at Starbucks in terms of how many more stores do you think will unionize? Is that going to be kind of a wave? Do you think it's kind of slowing down? Because I know that Starbucks is definitely concerned about it, being they brought Howard Schultz back, a known union buster, and he came right in and, is trying to kind of squash everything. So what do you think the outlook is?
Yeah, so it was very clear what their tactic was. Howard Schultz had oversaw the dissolution of Starbucks way back in the day, merged with another larger coffee chain that was unionized. And they employed a lot of pressure and intimidation tactics to get rid of that union when they merged with the company. So it's very clear what their intention was in having him back, and it was to employ his expertise in intimidating workers into not organizing. I think the more every day we grow more powerful, every day we're getting more shops organized and more workers on our side are seeing the benefits of unions. And in my perspective, it's only a matter of time before the company has to start recognizing us fairly, treating us well, and engaging in bargaining with us in good faith. Because eventually, they're just not going to have any stores that are going to be open, because we're going to be striking at all of them.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So, to any of the stores who have concerns about going union, what would you kind of say to them to ease their fears about it?
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of fears. Some of them are more valid. Some of them are just spread by propaganda that the company puts out. And I understand the hesitation with making this a fairly significant decision. I would absolutely encourage people to just go out there and educate themselves and look at unbiased sources of information, because at the end of the day, makes sense. It makes sense any way you look at it. Union workers on average make 20% more than non-union workers. You have people that are advocating for you, that are looking out for you throughout the disciplinary process. You have a means to voice complaints. Right now, you can voice a complaint, but the company's not going to do anything with it if they don't want to change anything. You voice a complaint to your union representative, and they're going to be at the bargaining table. They're going to say, we have workers that are saying this, we need this to change. And it's because it's their job to look out for you. That's what they get paid to do. The people management at Starbucks get paid to make money. They get paid to hit quotas and metrics. And so having someone that's, paid to look out for you is definitely just a huge benefit all around.
Absolutely. So, with your store and the union in general, do you all have any other actions coming up or anything, planned here in the future?
Yeah, there are always usually some local actions going on. You can check out our Instagram page. It's SBWU_Kentuckiana. And we'll update you whenever there's things going on. I obviously can't talk too much about what exactly things might be happening, but as long as Starbucks keeps, up with what they've been doing, you can absolutely anticipate more actions in the very near future.
All right. So anything we haven't talked about today you think people should know about?
I think honestly, one of the best benefits of unionizing that, I didn't even think about when we went to, file our petition or realize is the community that you develop and build. I feel like I'm so much more close with all of my coworkers now, and it's because we're all standing up for one another and advocating for each other. We're telling our boss that you can't do these things because they're illegal and because it's unethical, and you need to treat us better. We all have the understanding that, if someone's fired and we don't feel it's just, then we'll just walk out. And it's that sort of community support that I feel like a lot of people really deeply need, and that I personally have been, benefiting from as well in this movement. It's, we hang outside of work more often. I feel like I can call these people, friends, and I feel like I'm close with all of my coworkers. And it's a really just beautiful thing to see from it moving from just a workplace where we're all going, clocking in and clocking out, to really a community that we've built up.
So well said. So unless there's anything else, I think that pretty much wraps it up today. I really do appreciate you taking the time to meet me here today and talk about this. I know you have my support of the activist community here in Louisville. So, just keep us posted, and, we'll try to help you best we can. So again, thanks so much. This is Fern Potter from Starbucks Workers United. Check out their store, Factory Lane. You will get great service because it's union service. So yeah, take your business there. And remember, if you see a strike, don't cross that line. Quick comment, there's background music here at the place. For legal purposes, I do not claim to own this music in any way. I'm not profiting off of it. So yeah, hopefully Facebook, YouTube, you will leave my video alone. So let me switch this camera here again real quick. All right. Thanks so much for joining me here today. Share this out. And, let people know what's going on with unions, with Starbucks Workers United. Know where to take your business and take your money. So thanks for watching today, you all. I am local independent nonprofit. So the only way to help me is to boost the algorithm. You can do that by liking, sharing, commenting, smashing all those appropriate buttons. I appreciate you all so much. Remember, always think critically. And until next time, guys.